Did you know that heart disease is the #1 killer worldwide? It's been increasing since the 1900s, getting more and more prevalent as time goes on. We're even getting younger and younger people having it now. So what's going on? Do we really know what's causing it? Well, for a long time, the experts have been telling us that it's saturated fat that causes heart disease. They've been telling us that high cholesterol is the problem and that saturated fat raises cholesterol. So why would saturated fat, which is the main fat source that we've been eating for millions of years, why would that suddenly be a problem since 1900? It doesn't really make sense. Now, a lot of people say it's because we're living longer nowadays, but are we really living that much longer since the 1900s? And anyway, in times past, I'm talking thousands of years ago, we were thought to have lived a very short lifespan, but that was mainly because of the fact that we had infant death, we had accidents from children or from young people, we had disease that would happen, we had famines. And when you take a population, when you talk about population age, what you're talking about is the average age. You're talking about the median age. You're not talking about loads of people reaching a high age. So if you take out loads of people who are babies, children, young folk, you're going to end up with the median age dropping down lower. So it's not that we are now living older and we never have done before. It's just that more of us are living older now. So again, what's the story with the heart disease? If we haven't found evidence in people from eons ago with loads of heart disease, then why are we suddenly finding it now? What has changed? I'll tell you what did change in the 1900s, and that was the types of fat that we ate. We decided, based on advice from medical specialists, that it was better to eat like the vegetable oils that were being produced and cut our consumption of saturated fat down. So saturated fat being like your lards, butter, that kind of thing, and replace it with margarines, replace it with all the different vegetable oils that you use for high temperature cooking, like sunflower oil, safflower oil, soybean oil, things like that. Was that a good idea? If you look at the consumption of those oils and you compare them with the levels of heart attacks, you can see there's a bit of a correlation going on. In fact, in the British Medical Journal, they actually have found that people with high rates of heart disease also had evidence in their bodies that they'd had higher levels of vegetable oil consumption than the people with lower heart disease. So again, there's something telling us something going on there. So why were we advised to have lower levels of saturated fat in the first place? Well, there were a few research studies that kind of made a correlation between the fact that people who had had heart disease, they had high cholesterol in the arteries. But what wasn't explained was the high cholesterol in the arteries was actually a result of the heart disease, not a cause of it. Because actually cholesterol plays a part in repairing arterial damage. And that was caused by something else. So there we have cholesterol being blamed, but not just that. As you probably know, cholesterol isn't just cholesterol. There's your HDLs, which is your high density lipoproteins. You've got your LDLs, which is your low density lipoproteins. And that was as far as we went until quite a few years ago. We were advised HDL, the high density, is good. LDL, the low density, is bad, because that's the stuff that's found around the arterial damage in the heart, or around the heart. So when we look at it even further, as the British Medical Journal has done, they noticed that it was the small, dense LDL. Now, if you're still with me, those are the ones that actually get lodged into the arterial damage. And they're the ones that cause the plaque. You've got the atherosclerosis, which is the plaque buildup that causes the heart disease, and that plaque can come off and block the heart. Vegetable oils aren't actually very stable. they go rancid very quickly. In fact, they go rancid before they've even hit supermarket shelves in most cases. Whereas saturated fat is very stable. It's very stable at high temperatures as well, which is why it's better to use a saturated fat for high temperature cooking than a vegetable oil. But where do we find vegetable oils? Unfortunately, they're in all the high temperature cooking that you get in fast foods or processed foods. So when you have things like, say, donuts or fries or chips, we call them crisps in the UK, you'll find that you are having a high amount of vegetable oils. And these oils probably aren't doing you any favours. You're better off swapping these and going with the saturated fats, which are much better, as I say, for high temperature cooking, and so-called healthy spreads and margarines. So should we go back to butter and lard? I think so. In fact, real food is the way forward. It's a much healthier way, quite obviously, really. But if it's so harmful to eat these vegetable oils, why are they so ingrained in our society? Why are they so liberally used with every food? Why do they exist in all the foods that we can buy? I mean, you'd be hard pressed to get a snack nowadays and not have vegetable oil in it. So why is that? Well, all I can say is the processed food business is big business. It creates an awful lot of revenue for the big companies. Now, to slow that down or stop it and turn around and have real food, that would take a lot of engineering, and there's a lot of people that are going to be out of pocket. So I'll let you decide why we're still eating them. Why, on the whole, a lot of the medical professionals and a lot of the dietitians are still advising to lower your levels of saturated fat and swap it with healthy vegetable oils. But the research doesn't bear that out. It really doesn't. I hope you liked this video. Thanks for staying till the end. And if you did, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know when a new one's coming out.